Hi, second graders. Okay, so this is our third book on communities. Remember, this text set is going to be for 2 weeks. So this will be the last book for this week, and I'll read the other two next week for you. Just want to remind you what this text set is about. There are many factors that make up communities unique, and people within a community often depend upon each other and work together towards common goals. And this text is supposed to help you think about your own role in your community and how you can help the members of your community. A big part of your community right now is the people you live with. And this book is called Stella Luella's Runaway Book. And the author's message for this one is the people in your community can help you when you have problems that you can't solve on your own. So that's why I mentioned that your family is a big part of your community right now, because that's who you're spending a lot of time with. And you definitely could be someone that can help each other at your house. While you are listening to the story, our focus question today is, what do you think Stella learned about the people in her community? And what did she learn about taking care of her things? All right, let's meet Stella Luella's Runaway Book by Lisa Campbell Ernest. Here's a fun title page. The pictures in this book are pretty fun. I like them. She's got pets. Shows a lot of her house. The expressions are fun. Here, look at her face and just leave it on the first page. She's pretty cute. On Saturday morning, Stella's library book disappeared as if a magic act. Look at these illustrations. Aren't they great? Lots going on in these pictures. Stella was in a tizzy. She ran through the house searching frantically for the book, looking in the backs of closets, on tops of shelves, in beds, baskets, and bathtubs. She looked in toy boxes, toolboxes, even cereal boxes. The book was gone. Great balls of fire, shouted Stella's father. What's going on? My library book has disappeared, Stella cried. It's due today by 5 o'clock. How will I ever tell Mrs. Graham at the library that I've lost it? Stella burst into tears. Simmer down, her father said. Think, where did you have it last? Stella squeezed her eyes closed and thought. The hammock out back, she gasped. I'll have to show you this picture again. Look at all the places she's looking. Stella ran to the hammock with her father close behind. The book was not there. Her little brother Sam sat digging in the dirt below. Sam, their dad said, Stella's library book is missing. It's due today by 5 o'clock. Have you seen it? Yesterday, Sam nodded. It was a good book. I liked the bears. Where is it now? Asked Stella. I left it on the front porch, Sam answered, by the mailbox. Stella ran to the front porch with Sam and her father close behind. No book in sight. Just then, Wally Hanson walked up. Mr. Hanson, Sam called, my sister's library book is lost. It has to get back to the library by 5 o'clock. Have you seen it? That was yours? Wally groaned. It was mixed in with my mail, and I wasn't sure where it came from. Good book, though, especially when they go on a walk. Where is it now? Asked Stella anxiously. I left it at the house on the corner, he said. I thought it might belong to the little girl who lives there, Tiffany Ann. Stella ran to the corner of the house with Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. Mrs. Graham will be furious with me, Stella moaned. Tiffany Ann was sitting on the steps combing her hair. Tiffany Ann, called Wally. We're looking for Stella's library book. It's due today by 5 o'clock. Did you find it? Hey, great book, said Tiffany Ann. I love the little girl. Where is it? Begged Stella. I thought it might have been reported missing, Tiffany Ann said, so I gave it to Officer Tim when he walked by. Stella ran all the way to the police station with Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. Officer Tim, yelled Tiffany Ann. Do you still have that book I gave you? It's Stella's, and it's absolutely must get to the library by 5 o'clock. Negative, said Officer Tim. I was on my way to return it, but I stopped by Wandas Diner to apprehend a cup of coffee and accidentally left it there. Interesting book, though. A classic case of unlawful entry. Better check the premises to see if it's still there. Stella ran fast and furious to Wandas Diner with Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. Mrs. Graham won't let me check out a book ever again, Stella fretted. Wandas, barked Officer Tim. Have you seen a library book? It was here a minute ago, she said. Loved the part about the porridge. But where is it now? Pleaded Stella. It's due at the library by 5 o'clock. You know how Mrs. Graham hates late books. Sorry, honey lamb, Wandas said. I seem to remember Sal from the Fixit Shop picked it up. Stella ran pell-mell to Sal's Fixit Shop with Wandas, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. Sal, shouted Wandas. Where is that book you picked up? Stella must get it back to the library by 5 o'clock. Riveting book, Sal said, especially when that chair was broken. Please, oh please, begged Stella. Say you still have it here. I'm afraid not, Sal said. Morty from Bazaar asked to borrow it. So we don't even know what the book is, but there's some clues here. I'm thinking I might know the book. It talks about a little girl, talks about a chair, talks about porridge. I wonder if you have the same idea. We'll see. I don't even know if it will tell us what book it is, but I have a guess. Stella ran to the Red Bazaar with Sal, Wandas, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. Morty, called Sal, we've got a problem. That book you borrowed is Stella's, and it's due at the library no later than 5 o'clock today. Morty shook his head. A baby carried it off not 10 minutes ago. We just might be able to catch her. She headed west on Elm Street with her mother. It was a terrific book, Morty raved as he joined the crowd. I loved the part where the little girl tries out the beds. Stella moaned. Mrs. Graham will never believe this. I'm pretty sure I know the book that she checked out. Do you? Stella ran west on Elm Street with Morty and Sal, Wanda, Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. It was now 3 o'clock. Stop, shouted Morty when they saw the baby carriage up ahead. We need that book back. Stella's got to have it to the library by 5 o'clock. The mother turned around. I'm so sorry, dear, she said to Stella. It was a lovely book, especially the part about the nap. We gave it to a trustworthy troop of scouts headed south on Sycamore Street. What if I'm banned from the library, sobbed Stella. The baby, too, began to cry. Stella ran south on Sycamore Street with the baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. 2 blocks later, they spied the scouts. "Hey, wait up!" yelled the baby's mother. "There's been a mistake. That library book is Stella's, and it's due by 5 o'clock today." The weary scouts were returning from a long nature walk. "We don't have it," said the exhausted scout leader. It was a good one, though, especially when the bears finally returned home. The scouts all nodded. "We left it with Duff Morton. He stopped off at the park to work on his bug badge. I'll never get to read a library book again," whined Stella. Wow, that book sure has been passed around. Stella ran willy-nilly toward the park with a troop of scouts, the baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. It was now 4 o'clock. "Duff, quick!" shouted the scout leader. "Hand over that book. It has to get to the library by 5 o'clock." Duff looked up from his magnifying glass. "Aha," he said. "Excellent book, especially when the bears discovered that girl. But I gave it to Miss Flynn, the gym teacher, when she ran by. She was headed north." Oh my goodness. Poor Stella. Stella now ran north with Duff Morton, the troop of scouts, the baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. "Stop!" shouted Duff when Miss Flynn was in sight. "Stella has to return that library book you have by 5 o'clock. "But I don't have it," said Miss Flynn, still jogging. "I loved the ending, though, when that little girl ran through the forest. I left the book on the bench at the corner of 10th and Walnut. Maybe it's still there. I'll probably have to turn in my library card," sobbed Stella, still leading the way. So Stella ran to the corner of 10th and Walnut with Miss Flynn, Duff Morton, the troop of scouts, the baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father close behind. But when they arrived there, the bench was empty. Everyone searched from top to bottom. Stella's book simply wasn't there. What they did discover, though, was that the bench at 10th and Walnut was smack dab in front of the library. It was 10 minutes till 5 o'clock. "I guess that's that," Stella said, choking back the tears. "It's gone. I might as well go in and confess to Mrs. Graham. She will never, ever forgive me." Stella now walked as slow as molasses into the library with, well, everyone close behind. She thought about turning around and running, but it was no use. Mrs. Graham would track her down eventually. Then, all too soon, Stella was at the front desk. She couldn't bear to look at Mrs. Graham in the eye. Wonderful Mrs. Graham, who had story hour every Saturday. Wonderful Mrs. Graham, who always helped her find books. Wonderful Mrs. Graham, who she was about to disappoint terribly. I've lost my library book," Stella whispered at last, trying not to cry. "I'm so very sorry." Mrs. Graham smiled mysteriously, pulling something from under the counter. For some strange reason, this was on the bench outside, she said. "My book!" Stella yelled. "You found it!" Joyful shouts burst from Stella's friends, and there was an excited buzz as everyone recalled their favorite parts again. Mrs. Graham agreed with them all. What's your favorite part of the book? Stella asked her. Why, the same as with every book, Mrs. Graham said with a chuckle. My favorite part is when someone reads it. So at 5 minutes till 5 o'clock, Mrs. Graham checked out a new book to Stella, and Mrs. Flynn, Duff Morton, the troop of scouts, the baby and mother, Morty and Sal, Wanda Lynn, Officer Tim, Tiffany Ann, Wally, Sam, and her father were all close behind. There's the last page. Did you guys figure out what book she checked out? I'm thinking Goldilocks and the Three Bears. Sounds like the story she had. Well, that was a cute book, and lots of people in her community helping her. I will talk to you soon, and remember, this is the last book for this week, and the next two will be next week. Have a good day, you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.